Hey, this is Pierre Delacote, working at Planet Technologies. Why digital transformation is failing? I've been involved in maybe 100 of digital transformation projects, especially around Microsoft 365 transition. And I've seen so many times people failing doing digital transformation or change management program. So let me share because failing, I learned from these failures, and I think it's worth sharing what were the issues. So here's a summary of some issues I've seen as a pattern. Um, First, there's a lack of purpose in the change in the digital transformation. People don't know why they need to change. There's not a global vision. There's not a purpose. There's not a direction. Um, it's not either it's not clear, maybe sometimes there's a vision, but it's really a broad vision that is not understandable and it's not connected to the people. And it's sometimes it's not even authentic. So maybe you're gonna pitch a vision, but you don't really believe in it. So that's one of the problem, lack of purpose. The other problem is the lack of engagement from the exec sponsor. You might have a vision, but you might have a sponsor, but the sponsor is not contributing to this vision. There's no engagement. He doesn't really believe in the transformation, so he's not as involved as he should be. Another blocker, another issue is the culture. You you have a culture that is um, in a way that is not compliant with the change, and people are not ready to change because people are not ready to change culture. And you see that often when you talk about collaboration. People have this culture of being in silos, being in their email to communicate, and not really, or in meetings all day, not really adopting the collaboration, new spirit, your mind spirit. The lack of stakes, um, often your change is not connected to the business challenges, and people need to understand what day-to-day problems it's going to tackle. So it's really key to try to find those business challenges and how the technologies you're going to deploy are going to address those challenges. There are some issues, and I think that's a main blocker in the digital transformation. The managers are often blockers because they don't feel that it's going to help them, and even more than that, they feel they're going to lose control. They feel they're losing control because, for example, when you're deploying a collaboration environment, everybody is on the same level of contribution and of sharing, and there's no judgment, and the management is not there to regulate it or to control everything. So the management layer, especially middle management, feel um, out of control of this transformation. Another problem, especially with the leadership team and some managers, is the lack of incarnation. I always say is uh, often it's more about incantation than incarnation. So people, management leadership team says, yeah, we need to transform, we need to digital transform, we need to collaborate more transparently, but they don't incarnate the change. They don't lead by example. Also, sometimes there's a lack of really well identified benefits that are connected to the day-to-day life of your workforce, and so there's no benefits, no clear benefits. Might be some benefits like it's more modern or it's faster. A few benefits, basic benefits, but the global benefits, people sometimes they don't see what are the benefits, what's in it for them. Also, sometimes when you're changing the culture, when you're changing the way you're working, you need a set of rules of guidance and what I call governance. So people don't, because of a lack of governance, people don't are not afraid of doing things because if you don't have rules, they don't know what are the limits, they don't know what they can do, and sometimes there are some governance that are uh, deployed in the organization, but they're too restrictive. So it's really key to define the right governance. Also, changing the way you're working needs time, and it needs people to uh, invest in this transition, this transformation. And since they have already a lot of them on their plates, they don't have extra time to participate in um, fostering the change or fostering the digital transformation. So it's really what I've seen a lot of time. People are so busy that you had this digital transformation on their plate and they don't have time to help others or to foster this digital transformation. Um, Another thing is, if you don't really measure if you're successful in the digital transformation, so if you don't define your success criteria beforehand, and if you don't measure them, and if you don't adjust your strategy to those measurements, then you probably won't be successful. So it's really key to measure in real time what's going well, what's not going well, and just depending on what's working well, what's not working well, and maybe communicate around what's going well. Um, Also, it needs some assistance. Um, by assistance, it doesn't mean I don't mean to um put a spoon in the mouth of people with what is a change, and it's more about helping each other and providing some training for specific user like champions. It's key to have a champions community so you can scale your digital transformation. And you definitely need some training. It's not classroom training, but at least ongoing training, maybe an hour or 2 hours per week at the beginning of the project to make people understand what is the change, what is the benefit, what are the benefits, what are the new features, how you can leverage it in your day-to-day work, and you need to train a set of people that represent your workforce because people will have different needs and they don't want to learn everything. They just need to learn what they need for their day-to-day work. And finally, um, in the digital transformation, especially with Microsoft 365, there are so many products, so many services that are evolving so fast that there are overlaps. You can do one thing different ways. So there's a lot of choices, and so it brings usage confusion. So how can you tackle those issues? So here are some of solutions I implemented in the past that were somehow successful. Um, you need to work on the purpose with the business decision maker to define the right level of purpose connected to their business challenges, global business challenges, so people can understand that the technology is there to help to succeed in this vision, in this global vision. So it's really key to have this discussion with the top management and define what is the best purpose that correspond to their environment, their context, their culture. Um, to assist the sponsor, I think a good way is to make them really involved in the project is to coach them, to tell them what is the digital transformation about? What will be the impact, potential impact of this discussion with them? Open their mind to a new culture, a new way of working, like switching from knowing it all to learning it all. Because digital transformation is not a destination, it's a journey, and it's more an attitude. So they need to understand what it means and how they can act on it. For the culture, it's really key to in the early steps of the project to identify um, first the culture and how you can make it change to go to achieve your goal, to achieve your purpose. Where are the blockers? Where are the resistance? How you can leverage those blockers and resistance to transform them as an opportunity, how to tackle this. Um, what I like to do is to list a set of uh, values and how the technology can help to foster those values and what is the path to go to change those this culture and respecting the values that you have in place to better identify the the benefits. You first need to identify with stakeholders. So it can be business department leads, it can be SMEs, it can be business owners, business liaisons. So you need to identify where are their needs and their challenges and discuss with them what can be the potential benefits. And a good way to do that is to do a focus group demonstrating the technology and discuss with them where this technology applies the best in their context. For the management, I think it's really key to have some sessions with the management where you're going to explain what is the digital transformation for the organization, for the managers, for their teams, and for individuals. Then you can show them what is first their benefits as a manager, because they might lose some control, but they might benefit from better initiative in their teams, a faster way to decide, a faster way to create, innovate, and so a more efficient team as a result. So it's key to have this discussion with the managers and also train them on the basics, how they can help their team to adopt this transformation. When it when it comes to incarnation, you also need to, with the management, you need also to coach the managers. They don't know um, first what will this transformation, what it will involve for them, for the team. So you need to coach them to educate them on what are the proper behavior, what are the new value they might not have been exposed before, like working with transparency, fostering initiatives, encouraging and praising their team, the, not communicating in email, but communicating in collaboration environment. This is not natural, so you need to help them to understand how it works and how they need to behave in this new environment and what is the benefit for them. And to identify the benefits, you need to work again with the stakeholders to better understand, depending on the technology and depending on their business needs, business processes, where the technology applies the best once again. For the governance, it's really key to define and communicate around the roles and responsibility, and also the usages or the use cases or the best practices that you want to foster. There's no one size fits all, but so governance is a set of rules, but people are gonna They won't always respect the rules the same way because they have a different learning path. They have different personal culture, so it takes time. But at least if you have a guideline, people can understand where you want to go. And especially, I will recommend to build this governance, having this discussion between the people who are in charge of the digital transformation and also the people who are going to be impacted by the digital transformation. So they having this discussion and finding the right compromise help you to define the best path in your context, best rules that are, you know, defining the best compromise between, for example, security and agility. So, so everybody understands what are the limits and why you build those limits, where are the constraints from everybody, and find the best compromise. To uh, give time for people to foster this digital transformation, you will need a team of people, I call them champions, to help others to better understand what is a digital transformation, what is this new transition, what is this new way of working, and to be able to capture what's going on and help people to transition, change their habits, also to evangelize their peers on how you should work and what are the benefits in their own words. So you really need to allocate time to those champions so you can scale your digital transformation. Um, and also champions and other project members can measure what is the success of this digital transformation. You need first to define some criteria, some KPI where you'll be able to measure, where you can find out if it corresponds to your strategy, if your project is going in the right direction that you want it to go. And then if you don't measure it, you don't really know what's going well and not, and you're not able to adapt and adjust. And digital transformation is all about adapting all along the way because there are so many changes coming along the way, and it will never stop. So you need to have these measurements in place, and even the measurements can change along the way. A key component in the digital transformation, especially in an organization, is to give some assistance, some training, especially for champions. So champions will really be knowledgeable about the um, pros and cons of this digital transformation. They can tackle the the objections. They can demonstrate the benefits of this transformation in their working environment with their peers, with their own vocabulary that is more effective than if it was coming from the top for a communication um, department or for the IT department. So they will translate the training that you can provide them to their own environment. And so it's really key so the champions can learn it all at their pace. It takes time. You need to give them time. Um, but also it's key to collect their feedback and what's going well, and that is also a good way to connect with the real needs within your organization. And finally, um, the the choice, the overlaps you can have with so many technologies deployed, uh, where people can get confused, is you can be solved by an approach where you're gonna explain when to use what and better communicate on the global business purpose so people can understand not only when to use what, but for what purpose. And explain the options. It's not a one size fits all approach, but explain the options so people can better find within a governance what is the best path for them and for their team. So that was really quickly what I've experienced in hundreds of projects I've been involved, and there's no key solution that will help you to achieve a digital transformation. It's really a long journey. I will say, really to be successful in a real digital transformation, which is not just deploying technology, a modern technology. It's also to leverage this technology to work differently, work better. Uh, and it takes time, and that's why I'm sharing this experience that I've been exposed for almost 2 decades now, especially the last decade, with several customers, different profile. And I shared on my YouTube channel, you can see these links, and you're welcome to subscribe. I share some of that knowledge. I have a playlist on change management, on champions, on governance, and also I have a specific playlist on teams, because teams is really, I think, a really huge and great opportunity to foster this digital transformation, a new way of collaborating, a new way of working. Hope it was helpful.